The NFL draft is just a few weeks away, and the Bengals are eyeing the trenches like most of you had hoped. The latest on their pre draft visits that include a top offensive lineman that they could target in round one. Hi again, everyone, and welcome into Cincinnati Bengals Talk. I'm James Rapien of allbengals.com. A quick reminder to check out this week's episode of Enter the Jungle, where we went wall-to-wall NFL draft with a little Hall of Fame with Andrew visiting the Pro Football Hall of Fame at the end of the show. Check it out every Tuesday at 8 Eastern right here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk Weekly on Bally Sports. Hit that subscribe button, 43,000 plus. Thanks to every single one of you for subscribing. Ring the bell as well so you get the latest from us, including Troy Fautanu. The Bengals, they're looking at the trenches. They're prioritizing the trenches during the pre-draft process, and it starts with Troy Fautanu, who was in town on Tuesday. Jordan Schultz of Bleacher Report was the first to report that Troy Fautanu was in town. Who is Troy? Well, he's a 23-year-old offensive tackle, and will be in year 23 or age 23 during this season. But he's a 23-year-old that played left tackle for Washington, is one of the better athletes at the position. And you could look at a bunch of different things, whether it's film evaluation, whether it's his relative athletic score, tested in the 96th percentile from an athleticism standpoint. And that's being under 6'4". He's 6'3 and a half, which is really low percentage-wise. Everything else graded out really well. 317 pounds, 29 bench press reps. The vertical jump is there. The broad jump is there. Ran the 40-yard dash in just over 5 seconds, which 99% of the people watching can't do. And I'm not knocking you. It's really, really hard to do. And he did it at 317 pounds. And so Troy Fautanu is someone that I think could come in and start right away. What's interesting about him is he does have some guard experience. He started the past 2 years, 27 starts at left tackle, multiple starts, 2 starts at left guard, 1 in 2021 and 1 in 2022. Obviously, left tackle is a more premium position. So Washington wanted to put their best lineman at the most important spot, left tackle. But I think if the Bengals did draft him at 18, you do wonder, all right, well, do you plug him in at left guard? And does he give you the best chance of getting your best 5 out there with Trent Brown on one side, Orlando Brown Jr. on the other, Ted Karras in the middle, and you put Troy Fautanu on the left, Alex Kapp on the right. And then in a year, maybe Trent Brown, you don't sign him, you don't bring him back, well, then you move Troy Fautanu to right tackle. It's interesting. I think if the Bengals are going to take a guy like Fautanu in the first round, who clearly has the flexibility to play multiple spots, they have to be willing to let him not only compete with Cordell Volson, but they have to be really open to either allowing him to compete with Cordell Volson and him winning the job, or allowing him to compete with Trent Brown. I don't think that's as likely, just because I think they're pretty comfortable with Trent Brown. And it really is hard to have a rookie learn left guard and right tackle, right? Because it'd be easy to say, all right, we'll make him the swing tackle. Fine. But do you just want him to be the 6th offensive lineman, or do you want him to compete for a starting spot? Because I certainly think he is capable of competing for a starting job on the interior of this line. There are some evaluators that think that he would be a capable center as well. And so you're talking about a really athletic, experienced offensive lineman that has the versatility to maybe play all 5 spots. And so I'm totally on board with the Bengals kicking the tires on him. If you look at NFL.com's Lance Zierlein, his big board, Fautanu is 12th on his big board. I could totally see him being there at 18 because there are quarterbacks that are going to go that are lower. There are some different defensive players that I think are lower on Lance Zierlein's board that could go. Obviously, the 3 receivers will go. So even if you get 3 receivers, 4 quarterbacks, you get Joe Alt, you get Brock Bowers. Like, it's really easy to see how Troy Fautanu could be there. So we know the Bengals are interested in offensive linemen in round 1, which is not a shock. But they're also kicking the tires on multiple defensive tackles. The latest on their pre-draft visits in the defensive line trench area. But first, a word from our friends at Lasik Plus. This video is brought to you by Lasik Plus. I've been a contacts and glasses wearer since the 2nd grade, and that changed in November when I went to Lasik Plus, and they got me seeing as clear as I've ever seen in my entire life. And it's all thanks to Dr. Vincent Marino, who happens to be a giant Bengals fan. He has performed over 135,000 procedures. And when I think of my Lasik Plus experience, I think of efficient, honestly, pain-free, easy. And the best part is when I travel for Bengals games, when I'm waking up early, staying up late, I don't have dry eyes. I don't have to worry about contact solution. I don't have to worry about having backup glasses on the road. And it's all thanks to Lasik Plus. You, right now, if you've thought about it, and if you've worn glasses like I did or contacts like I did for years and years and years, now's the time to get to Lasik Plus. Go to LasikPlus.com/James-Rapien for not only a free consultation to see if they can help you like they've helped me, but you can get $1,100 off of your procedure right now. Again, that's LasikPlus.com/James-Rapien right now. You won't regret it. Get your free consultation today. Lasik Plus was a game changer for me. It can be for you as well. And speaking of game changers, the Bengals, well, they're trying to replace a game changer in DJ Reader on the interior of that defensive line. And they've hosted at least one defensive tackle this week with another visit scheduled. Maason Smith, the former LSU defensive lineman, was in town earlier this week. He also is visiting Pittsburgh, I believe, and has a bunch of other pre-draft visits. He's interesting because he played 20 games for the Tigers, had 47 tackles, had 9.5 tackles for loss, and 6.5 sacks in those 20 games. Missed all but one game in 2022 due to a torn ACL. So part of the pre-draft visit process with Fautanu and any guy that we mentioned could be a medical examination and wanting to get a closer look at him there. But this is someone that the Bengals could certainly target with that second, third round pick. We'll just say it, in the third round in general, pick 80, pick 97, or that first fourth rounder at pick 115. He's 6'5", which is a bit tall for a defensive tackle, just traditionally, but has good weight. And certainly when you look at his relative athletic score, again, shout out to Kentley Platt for this, but it lines up well. He runs a 501, by the way, which is exactly what Troy Fautanu runs, but had good explosion grades, solid shuttle and 3-cone grades, solid 40-yard dash grades, like all of the things that you look for. Good arm length, 35-inch arms. And so I think Maason Smith is a mid-round target, and a late-round target is Justin Rogers, who, according to Justin Mello of the Draft Network, Mello talked to Rogers and had a Q&A with him. They have a visit scheduled with Rogers. And I think he's a late round nose tackle type that the Bengals could certainly target. And they've been kicking the tires on guys like this, and they should, because there aren't a ton of nose tackles. I know Tavondre Sweat's the popular one, but outside of that, if they're not all the way in on him because of the weight concerns or anything like that, or maybe they just don't feel comfortable taking him in round 2 and don't think he'll be there in round 3. Well, and I think a lot of teams are going to feel that way about Tavondre Sweat. But then you're probably waiting until day 3 or with that second, third round pick. And if you're the Bengals, to address nose tackle. And there are guys on day 3, and this is one of them. Evan Anderson was another one in my mock draft that I did for SI.com, and you can check it out on all of our social platforms. I've posted it this week. And then I'll throw out one more because the Bengals are going to have a local pro day like they do every single year. Juwan Briggs out of the University of Cincinnati. He did 39 bench press reps, 225 pounds the other day. And he's someone, the Bengals have 2 6th-rounders and 2 7th-rounders. I think Briggs is someone they could target. They haven't drafted a Bearcat in quite some time. This could be the year that changes. It would not shock me if that does change. One, because I think they're going to double down on the interior of their defensive line and maybe even triple down, depending on how the board falls. And so Maason Smith, Justin Rogers, Juwan Briggs, all day 3 targets, with Smith leading the way there. He could be a round 3 target, but certainly on day 3, if he's there, it could be on the Bengals' radar as well. As far as Troy Fautanu, I'm open to it as long as they're willing to let him compete for a starting job from the jump, which I think they would be willing to do if they're going to draft him with the 18th overall pick. For more, make sure you hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, check out my work at SI.com, also the Locked On Bengals podcast. And for Andrew Fox Miller, I'm James Rapien. Thank you so much for watching Cincinnati Bengals Talk.